and other people's voices around you is healing. So she likes to call it the sound therapy. And we're talking about running choirs, running a song circle, which will be in Sutton on Mondays starting this fall. And, we have a little bit of a background together, don't
Yes,
we, Trisha?
Do. We
yes,
do.
Yes. I remember coming to you years ago in Montreal when I was living in Montreal, riding my bike to see you in your loft, in your office, and getting healing through voice lessons. And I was so out of my body at the time, and I was so intimidated by what she wants me to sing. But there's a part of me that wants to sing, but there's a part of me that's like, as soon as my mouth opens, it's like, ah. So I remember that being a wonderful experience for me, a mixed experience. And when I left Montreal and had to stop that because I moved out here, which was a choice, that's what I missed. So when I saw you one day walk through the doors of my center and say, "Hello, Ilia," I almost fell on the floor. I couldn't believe it. And then you said to me that you're moving out here and you're going to start up things. And I was just thrilled.
Thank you. I felt the same way. I was so happy at your reaction to seeing me when I heard you were in town. And I have to say that years ago when you were coming to me, I do recall that you moving and making sound was really, really powerful for you.
Yes.
There was something about the movement and the sound that worked for you. I was aware that you were trying to get your voice inside your body.
When you say movement, you mean like dance, like move the body?
I just remember you moving around in my office space while you were singing, and
That's
other people don't do that, And I remember that was like really specific for you. And now look at your career, what's happened. It's very body centered,
right.
and,
body
and
centered,
dance,
massage therapy, dance, yoga, dance. Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
It was all there.
Yeah, it was gestating when I knew you back then.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, let's get back to all the wonderful things you're going to be doing. I want to tell the audience also that in the next show next week, you're going to be talking about something else that you love to share with people.
Yes.
Is your abilities to do clairvoyant readings.
Correct.
Which is so wonderful. And we are definitely going to demystify that and bring that, ground it down to earth, make it really practical for everybody. So before we get to that show, let's continue on to this one. So tell us, how did you come to sound healing, to become a voice teacher? I was a professional singer at a pretty young age. I was singing folk music and then jazz, and then I had problems with my voice. I started to develop laryngitis, so I went and I studied with a teacher in Montreal. No kidding.
By the name of Carmen Mehta. And very classical operatic character, lovely, beautiful woman. And so I did many years of training, mostly because I wanted to get some stability. And so I trained my voice, and then she got me a little job teaching. This is in my 20s, teaching voice lessons.
And your laryngitis was healed?
And my laryngitis was healed, so that was the first thing. But the second thing that brought me into sound healing work was when I was doing shows. In those days, I was singing in bars in Montreal, the old, and people were still smoking then, so you can imagine what that was like. I actually noticed that I was more interested in the audience feeling good than I was in the music being perfect. I actually realized I had more interest in the audience than I did in the music, or it was like a split thing.
Sure.
And I was always looking at people to see how this song affects them, how the whole climate of the room would change with this key or this rhythm or this.
Fascinating.
The other musicians in my band didn't seem to care about this very much, And so that was my first clue. Then a very dramatic thing happened to me when I was around 30 years old, maybe 29, 30. I was struck across the throat by a man tried to kill me.
No kidding.
On St. Lawrence Boulevard.
Really?
He tried to hit me with a 2x4, and he got me across the throat. This was a man who later that day was caught by the police and put away.
Thank goodness.
He he maimed a few women that day. And he got me across the throat. I'm very tall. I'm lucky he couldn't hit my head because he was shorter than me.
Yes, yes, yes.
And I lost my voice.
For how long?
6 months.
No kidding.
And so what happened was I ended up, through force, exploring all the alternative healing techniques that were available for the voice. And so, I mean, this is now 27 years ago, okay?
Yes, 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 yes.
I went to shiatsu, I went for massage, I went to psychotherapy. I ended up working with this very well-known vocal therapist by the name of Lisa Sokolov. I ended up doing all kinds of things I never would have done if I hadn't have lost my voice. And when I got my voice back through this 4-day intensive toning workshop, which is what I teach now, my voice was better.
Beautiful.
It was expanded. And I had a lot more knowledge about myself on the other levels in terms of emotions, psychology, and spirit. So I had a deeper understanding of what the voice really is.
So you, through your experience, your negative experience, something positive
it was
grew
amazing.
out of that.
It was like the best thing that could have happened to me. And at the time, of course, I didn't realize that. I felt like a total victim, but and I was. On one level, I was a real victim.
But you turned it around.
Well, talk about a great way to learn about what I'm really interested in. Lose your voice. And talk about a great way to work with people who have similar things.
That's right.
People started sending those people who had lost their voices to me.
Okay.
Well, I knew what they were. There's something called vocal trauma.
Yes. Okay.
And people who use their voices and are very voice centered and go right to your vocal cords, they freeze and they get really kind of stuck. And the rest of you is fine except you feel kind of dead. All kinds of people came to me after that.
Wow.
And my career slowly shifted from being a voice teacher to someone that was working multidimensionally with the voice. So this was about 25 years ago that this started. And then I realized after a while, hey, you're doing sound healing work. And and then the adventure continued from there. Yes,
and you traveled to India?
I traveled to India and did some work there. I had a grant from the government to study South Indian music, which has a lot of very deep, we're talking about thousands of years of knowledge about how sound affects the body, the spirit, and the emotions, and in their case, the gods.
Well, I think it's fascinating, and as a matter of fact, we have a piece that we want to share with the audience that was sparked in India, right? Influence, inspiration.
Influenced by that singing, that's correct.
Yes, wonderful. You want to tell us a little bit about the song before we play it?
It's a song called The One. It is a poem that I wrote. And I think it's one of those poems that you can interpret how whatever the one means to you. I wrote this when I was in deep meditation, and this song was kind of bugging me and like playing over and over and again. So I just stopped meditating and wrote it down, and so it came out of a deep process that I was having, and I was doing an intensive meditation course. And the musicians on this particular CD, which is called Songs I Learned from Trees, are all very dear to me, and they're all over the country now. But this tune was arranged by a guitarist who's now in Vancouver by the name of Bill Kuhn.
Okay. Well, let's hear this wonderful piece called The One.
When eyes are soft and heart is still, I look to the one on the crest of the hill, greater than fear and stronger than will. When eyes are soft